we'll have an audit committee meeting along with Planning and Public Works. We are thankful for the full members of council who are here tonight. Ms. Honeycutt is joining us via Zoom and has full voting privileges remotely, along with our council members who are here tonight, our administrator, our attorney, our clerk. Good evening to everyone. We are now ready to begin our Finance Committee meeting, where all members of council are a part of this committee. Item number 1, approval of the minutes. Probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. We have 2 presentations. 2A, an update on Highway 41. Yes, Mr. Oziak.
Programs Manager here to give you an update on our Highway 41 improvements project. First, just as some background, the primary purpose of this project is to reduce congestion within the corridor and obviously provide additional capacity for future traffic projections. Right now, our traffic study is showing almost a doubling of traffic out on SC 41 in the next 20 years. Secondary purpose of the project is enhancing safety, improving connections to the communities out there, and then providing bicycle and pedestrian accommodations while seeking to minimize private property and environmental impacts. Now, this project was started back in 2017, so as you can imagine, there's been quite a bit of project history over the past 8 years. Some of those specifics are outlined here on the slide. I'm not going to go over every single each one, but pretty much the highlight here is over the past 8 years or so, we've spent about 5 of those years spent collaborating with stakeholders. We've been developing different alternatives, engaging with the public, and working with the Federal Highway Administration and the Department of Justice to ensure the fair treatment of the 7-mile community. We finally settled on our preferred alternative, which is referred to as the compromise alternative, towards the end of 2021. This slide here is just pretty much a graphical representation of that timeline, providing a snapshot with our initial planning starting back at the late 2017, bringing us to our current status where we are here today, getting ready to start right-of-way acquisitions. Again, this red circle here is highlighting all the time and effort we've spent on collaboration and with the public and making modifications to the plans to accommodate concerns. Right now, we are looking to advertise this project the third quarter of 2026, and we're projecting about a 4-year construction timeline due to the fact that we're constructing about 9.5 miles of roadway out there. Now, I mentioned the time and effort that's gone into working with the community. We've had over 7,000 comments that we've received and also responded to from the public, multiple community meetings, as well as 3 formal public information and public hearings, including one that was virtual during the COVID pandemic. And then, numerous stakeholders have been involved in this project and mentioned the alternatives. Over 20 different alternatives have been evaluated throughout the process. And now, in addition to our work with stakeholders and the public, we've also been collaborating with the 2 municipalities that are going to be most influenced by this project, which is the town of Mount Pleasant and Berkeley County. Town of Mount Pleasant staff has been attending all of our monthly project status meetings and reviewing the plans. And the town has also provided some funding for some interim improvement projects, which I'll touch on later on in the presentation. And then we've also been partnering with Berkeley County as our bicycle and pedestrian improvements will tie into their improvements there at Clements Ferry. And they also provided some funding for those improvements. Now it brings us to our current design for the SC 41 improvement project, which we again refer to as the compromise alternative. This design minimizes the impacts to the Phillips community by reducing our 4-lane widening to a 3-lane section through their community. We've also worked with various stakeholders and community organizations to reduce the impacts to their communities and try to improve traffic flow. And then despite the project impacting over 160 different properties, there will be no residential or commercial relocations on this project. Now, in addition to the vehicular traffic improvements, as I mentioned, we're also providing that continuous multi-use path from 17 all the way across the bridge connecting up there with Clements Ferry and Berkeley County. And then talking about some of those interim improvements, so I've been working to develop the plans for SC 41. We have been able to implement some interim improvements. One such project was the intersection improvements at US 17 and Dingle Road and at Joe Rouse Road. Dedicated turn lanes were added to Dingle Road, and the right turn, like slip lane, I guess you'd call it, on 41 that connects with 17 was shifted further away from that intersection to make way for future turn lane improvements. The intersection with Joe Rouse Road was also reconfigured to allow for the continuous flow of the southbound lane on 41, which significantly reduces delays at this intersection during peak hours. We recently just did some traffic studies out here to collect our pre and post information, and we're seeing about a 20% reduction in delay on the southbound traffic moving through this intersection. Now, these improvements were completed at the end of last August with the total cost of approximately $1.3 million, with the town contributing $200,000 to the cost. Another interim improvement project was some signal timing upgrades and timing capabilities at the Joe Rouse intersection we just recently improved, and we're currently working on the intersection with Rivertown and Dunes West. These new signal timing upgrades should help improve traffic flow and also ties into the town's adaptive traffic control system, which allows them to make fine-tuned adjustments on the fly. The signal project at Joe Rouse was completed this spring, and as I mentioned, the improvements at Rivertown and Dunes West are currently underway. Total cost for these signal improvement projects was about $85,000 and came from our project budget. Moving on to our current project status, we have recently resubmitted right-of-way plans to SCDOT for review, and the approval of those plans is expected in the next 30 days. We're also working towards final plan development and intend to submit final plans early next year with anticipated approval around May of 26. As I mentioned, the right-of-way, we've got about 168 tracts we need to acquire property from. Again, no residential or commercial relocations. And while we can't make offers to landowners until we get that approval from SCDOT, we have started some early work doing some title research and early contact to landowners out on the project. I also want to provide a brief update on our permitting status. We initially submitted to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for our environmental permit about 2 years ago. We recently made some slight modifications to design elements, mainly looking to, rather than building a earthen berm for the shared use path, we're actually looking to build a little trestle bridge for that shared use path, which reduced our right-of-way impacts, so we resubmitted those reduced impacts to the Corps. We're also working with the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services to obtain a permit from them. After our phone call with the Corps we had this afternoon, we are anticipating a notice of intent to issue permit within the next 60 days. Now this slide here summarizes the current project costs and funding streams. Total project cost right now is approaching $245 million, with about $50 million of that cost with preliminary engineering and right-of-way. The remaining $194 million is directly related to the construction of the project. Majority of the funding is coming from our 2016 transportation sales tax, with another $62 million coming from the South Carolina Transportation Infrastructure Bank, and as I mentioned, another $2 million from Berkeley County. And then town of Mount Pleasant has also kicked in about $600,000 for those interim improvements I mentioned earlier. Moving forward, the next steps for the project is to receive right-of-way approval from the DOT so we can begin making purchase offers and negotiating with landowners. We're also working with the Corps of Engineers and Department of Environmental Services for the permit approvals. And then we're working to have construction plans approved by May of next year, and advertisement of this project likely third quarter of 2026. So while we are getting close to taking this project forward to construction, I did want to make mention that they're certainly not without risks to the schedule. Again, mentioning the environmental permits, there's certainly a risk with getting those permits. Like we said, we're hopeful we're going to get that permit after our talk with the Corps today, but we still have that work with the Department of Environmental Services to obtain the permits from them. And also, we have a current funding agreement with the State Transportation Infrastructure Bank. Now, that specific agreement does state that we would commence construction by May 1st of 2026. However, we provide quarterly updates to the SIB on our expenditures, and for the last year or so, we've been telling them, hey, we're not going to meet that May date. We're looking at more likely a November 26 start for construction. We haven't heard any feedback from the SIB just yet, so we're looking to probably make an amendment to our current agreement, so just so all parties are fully aware of our November target date. If we cannot get the SIB to agree to that extension, we're going to probably look at see how we can do to phase the project and start early phases near the intersection of 41 and 17 while we work to finish right-of-way acquisition on the remaining portion of the project. Staff is also working with the town of Mount Pleasant to obtain a memorandum of agreement and encroachment permit so we can work within their right-of-way, and then this memorandum of agreement would cover the town's responsibilities to perform maintenance and ownership of Lower Hill Parkway and maintain any landscaping out on the project. And then lastly, mentioning the right-of-way negotiations, as mentioned, we've got 168 tracks up there, so if we have to file any condemnations, we'll have to make sure we execute those before we move forward to the construction. So that kind of summarizes my update. There's our project website there at the bottom, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oziak, and yes, we're going to get to council comments in just a minute. I know that we had recently a meeting with individuals from the Phillips community, and they were asking questions. Many of you were there. I know you noted the public engagement. Have they been informed of some of these updates?
The Phillips community? Yes, sir, yes. As we mentioned, we just met with them just a couple of weeks ago.
That's right.
And provided some updates on what was going on. They seemed very pleased with the project and the outcomes that we've achieved.
All right, Mr. Wehrman, I just wanted to know because, of course, we have these separate meetings, and this was a very comprehensive update, so I want to make sure that they are also receiving the same thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Wehrman?
Yep, I just wanted to ask, when you were going over the funding, I didn't get the math done quick enough. Are we relying on a subsequent sales tax, or do we have this covered under 2016?
This is currently covered in full funding by 2016 sales tax.
Good to know. Thank you.
Mr. Moody?
I don't know what to say, man. It's thank you for that update. It's awesome. But I was flashing back to Glen McConnell Parkway that bisects our intersection. 5 years of meetings, 165 meetings, 5 years, stakeholders, many of them fighting us all along the way. I marvel that we're reducing our impacts to the core, and so we have to resubmit. It's that kind of nonsense that drives these projects on for years and years and years and drives the price through the roof. And so you say, well, they don't have anything going on. This has been going on for 5 years. Garbage. And we've got to figure out a way to tighten up this timeline to deliver these projects on time and efficiently for our citizens. This takes way too long. Not your fault. But I'm amazed. I mean, we went through it with Glen McConnell Parkway.
Well,
Mr.
and that's
Middleton.
why I asked the question, because we had a meeting recently about some of the similar things, and I wanted to make sure that this update was given.
Yeah, no,
because
staff's doing everything they
sometimes
can.
it makes the community sometimes makes it seem as though, they don't know, what's going on.
You haven't done
So I
anything with
just wanted to
sales
be
tax
sure.
money. Well, clearly we have been doing something with sales tax money. It's all these stupid regulations we've got to go through that delay these projects so long.
All right.
Thank you for letting me blow off steam.
Vice Chair Kabrowski? Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for the presentation. What are the risks about the permits?
Mainly just the time associated with those. We don't foresee any hard stumbling blocks where they would not issue the permit. It's just the time it takes to do the coordination with these different environmental regulatory agencies.
Have they indicated that those who have to issue the permits, that there's no problems with it, they expect to issue them, or is that just our speculation at this point?
So like I said, we just had a meeting with the Corps this afternoon, who they've indicated they don't see any foresee. It's just, what would you say? It's a paperwork they just have to do for the most part. They have to go through their own legal to review all the permits and things like that. So it just takes some time with that. But from our discussion today, they don't foresee any major issues. It's just a matter of going through the process.
But what I'm inferring, your impression is they made a decision on the permits, they just haven't completed the paperwork, or they still haven't made the decision?
From what I understand, they've made a decision that we're okay and they're going to issue the permit. They just haven't completed that paperwork yet. So while it's not a real major risk, there is still some, a time constraint in there. If there's, further delay in getting our permit to us, that, delays us getting to work.
What's the upcoming status conference about? What is the purpose of that, and what do we hope to accomplish, to know then what we don't know now?
Sorry, the status conference?
Did you not say there's a status conference coming up on July 10th? Maybe I misread that.
Let me go back to this. Oh, on July 10th, yeah, we just have a meeting with the DES at that time to help go and explain our project and the intent of the project so they have a good understanding of what we're submitting for. It just, regular meetings we have with these environmental regulatory agencies.
Mr. Sass?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great report. Thank you. I think I've been to most of those 165 meetings, and I know I've gotten a lot of those comments. This was the first project out of the 2016 sales tax that we started on. We were going to, Mount Pleasant and town and county council started together on this, and it's just been a long haul. But part of that's because there hadn't been any other really road improvements much on Highway 41 for a very long time, except for the sidewalks that we put in there about 2010. Somewhere around 2010, we put in a sidewalk basically along in the Phillips community on both sides. And I think most of our roadway is going to be within that sidewalk. But my question to you, I know we're getting some drainage out of this too, Phillips community, and there's some other drainage issues over there that are being fixed as a part of this. Is there any major utility removals or upgrades, or is that part of this project that's taking so long, or is there any cost to that?
I'm not aware of any kind of major, besides regular in-plan utility relocations that go on, I'm not aware of any kind of major transmission line upgrades or anything like that that's happening in the project limits.
Okay,
No.
okay, thank you. Thank you, good report, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you so much. Item 2B, Transportation Needs Assessment Data from Mr. Mitchum and the COG.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Let me start by just commenting on Councilman Brantley's comments. Yes, it does take a very long time to build a project, but let me say, as somebody who spends most of my time in transportation-related activities, we certainly appreciate your investment. I'm here just tonight to touch on a few issues and talk a little bit about what staff's been doing. Our staff, along with your staff at the county, as well as the staff of the municipalities, the transportation professionals, looking at the system, looking at the needs. I'm not here to present a list tonight. I'm here to just share a little bit of information and to seek some guidance so that we can sort of fine tune and eventually give you a list if you so choose. But let me remind you, and more importantly, remind folks why we have to keep investing in infrastructure. You know, these are our population projections going forward. We've been doing this since the late 60s, and quite frankly, we're pretty accurate. Obviously, sometimes over a decade, it may not happen exactly how we anticipate it will because of things that occur, whether that's a recession, a pandemic, a natural disaster, et cetera. But we're pretty good at estimating what's going to happen, and we don't foresee a lot of slowdown here. We're still a very desirable place, and we see these numbers continuing to tick up at the rate they are. The other aspect on the left is the population growth, and then on the right is your employment growth. So that's kind of what we see in working with various folks and looking at data. So you can see we're well positioned as it relates to LCRT to address a lot of that employment growth, which is not surprisingly happening where it is. A lot of areas for infill there and a lot of areas for redevelopment. And of course, it sort of reflects that continuing march of development off of the peninsula and further up into North Charleston. You know, part of the challenge that Charleston County has and we have as a region is the commuting patterns. And so right now we have 135,000, almost 136,000 people every day that come into Charleston County to work. If you look at the chart on the right, we're projecting that the majority of the job growth through 2045 will occur in Charleston County. So those trends will continue, those commuting patterns will continue. So this shows you the volume over capacity for 2019 compared to 2045, and this is based on everything we know as far as investments that's going to be made, existing, what we call existing and committed projects, things that are under construction or are committed, like 41, for instance, where we have a pretty good feeling that it's going to occur. And so when you look at those colors, and you know, it's level of service, A through F. So you really want to be, you know, green and yellow. You start getting into those other colors, and actually the two at the bottom are just variations of F. We've got so much F occurring in 2045, we were really trying to get a better handle on the different levels of it.
Mr. Mitchum, I don't want to stop you in your presentation. So this presupposes doing nothing?
This is if we have no additional investment outside of the traditional funding that we see from SCDOT and the feds through our process at CHATS. So this is if you have no additional investment from Charleston County going forward. So So, part of why we were doing this is obviously after the referendum in November, we had to pull a project out that had a pretty significant impact on the network. So we had to remodel, we have to recalculate, if you will. But yes, and you can see that congestion gets worse, obviously, and you can see sort of the projections and the levels of service where those things occur. So those are our forecasted conditions, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. In addition to just looking at what you're funding and what we're funding through chats, what DOT is funding, such as the 526 widening, we're also looking at the land use. What's occurring, what's entitled out there, what you've already previously approved in development agreements, what we see happening based on the zoning. Obviously, a lot of what you see, that contribution and that growth that was occurring in Berkeley County on the residential side, is not really surprising when you consider how many thousands of acres of land converted from timberland to all of a sudden land that could be used for development. So we get Cane Bay, Nexton. We've now got it going much further up. The Volvo, all above that, all that used to be timberland. So, in the old days, it was easy to plan for that. You didn't need water, sewer, really any roads. Periodically, they have a log truck go in, cut some timber, come out, replant, on it goes. So we went from, a situation where we had rapid development in an area we weren't prepared for development to occur. So that's a big part of what's contributed to that rapid growth in Berkeley County and parts of Dorchester County. But the jobs are still in Charleston County for the most part, number-wise. So we look at all kinds of factors. We look at the traffic volumes, the ADT. We look at VOC and level of service. We look at all kinds of data. For those of you who have that cell phone, we're using cell phone data. I think you all know you're being tracked if you allow yourself to be tracked. We don't know where Mr. Boykin. We don't know that's Mr. Boykin's phone, but we know where his phone went today, and that data gets essentially gets sold to us and allows us to model and track those patterns and see what's happening. And we get things called planning time index, level of travel time reliability, and planning time index. If you're green, that's great. If it's a 20-minute trip, you don't have to plan anything extra. If your level of service is F, you better put some extra time in there because there's a pretty good chance it's going to take you considerably longer than you anticipated. Same thing with reliability. That's a situation where looking at how reliable the network is at meeting your needs when you're trying to go from point A to point B, and that gets reflected back down into the system. So we have a ton of safety data, and we look at that in different ways. We look at the high crash network, and that can be a situation where we have a lot of accidents, but they're not always serious accidents. I think of, I can see I-26 out of my window at the office, so I think of I-26 and Ashley Phosphate. It seems like about every day there's an accident out there as you approach Ashley Phosphate. Generally not serious injuries or fatalities, just enough to disrupt the flow of traffic. And then we have what we call the fatal and severe injury crash network, and that's where the frequency might not be as bad, but the severity can be pretty intense. We may see more fatalities, more serious injuries. So there are a couple different ways you can look at that. And then, of course, the non-motorized user, pedestrians and bicycle crash network. So we have a ton of data and getting more all the time. So we have all this data now. We can give you all kinds of lists. But we're sort of at a point now where we quite frankly need direction. We need some idea of what you may be thinking about going forward. And I hope you are thinking about going forward because we desperately need your investment, not just on the highway side, but in transit and green space as well. But obviously, we could look at corridor improvements, intersection improvements, safety improvements. If you have a specific pot you wanted to dedicate towards those projects that are really aimed at the highest fatality rates, severity rates, we could do that. Obviously, bike ped improvements, operational technology-based improvements, something I would encourage you to think about. that's investing in traffic signal systems and, if you're talking about a 25-year referendum in the future, a lot can happen in 25 years when it comes to technology. There are a number of smart projects out there now using AI. The City of Charleston's doing a smart project. So there may be lots of opportunities to invest in technology to help the system function better. We recently invested in Mount Pleasant's traffic signal system and the City of Charleston's, again, aimed at trying to make sure they're timed properly and that they're synchronized so that, again, you can take advantage of the capacity you have, make sure traffic flows as well as it can, given that there are times at which capacity is at its max. And then, of course, capacity enhancement projects or widening projects, which are never easy to do and getting harder and harder to do. So we could, quite frankly, give you a list for every one of those categories if you so chose and gave us the parameters you wanted to see. And then, of course, what is your criteria? That's a snapshot out of our long-range plan. So you can see our criteria. That's sort of dictated by Act 114 of state law. And that's what we have to do with the funds that we receive from the state and the feds. But obviously, county's not subject to that same requirement. So your criteria can be different. And our criteria has to be approved by the SCDOT Commission, and that's what we have to sort of use to prioritize our projects going forward. So, you'll notice on our particular one is different than other parts of the state because we have, we provide some credit for routes that are part of the hurricane evacuation network. Obviously, if you're in the upstate, you might not need that. So, but you're certainly open to a different set of criteria. You may think there are things that are more important than other things than what we have approved by the SCDOT Commission. So that is information that we would need in order to help prioritize projects. So, where we're at now is, again, we've got all kinds of data. We feel very comfortable with where we're at with the model and with the land use associated with that. We've worked with your staff and all the municipal town staff, so we know pretty much what's going to happen. We've got that built into the model. We know what kind of trips that's going to generate. So it's a question now of how can we be of service to you and how can we help you? As you build out a framework for what you might want to do in the next referendum, we want to be available and able to answer those questions and provide information. I will say, one thing that's important to remember is that, when you're dealing with the public, sometimes they're talking about a project. They tend to think about just that corridor. We model the system, the network, if you will, because sometimes you can make an improvement on a corridor and you can simply move the problem a little bit, or you can create a problem on an adjacent corridor. So one of the things we want to always do is look to make sure that as we solve one problem, we're not immediately creating another problem. And so, some folks will say, well, you can get into scope creep. Well, yes, you can. But again, you don't want to go out there and spend, $200 million and simply move a problem. So, again, that's, as you think about what you want to do in the future, we certainly want to work with you to make sure that we evaluate those projects and make sure that, you're getting what you want there. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions, but our goal is simply to be of service to you. Your staff has been great to work with, as well as municipal staff, but we do understand that you have to determine what that process is, certainly what the public engagement component is. We don't want to get too far ahead of that process and want to make sure that we respect that process and, that we're open and transparent. I would welcome the opportunity to participate with your communications folks, your communications team, so that, again, when folks ask why this project, that we can easily show the documented process that we go through, the need, and I know a lot of times folks don't think that that's that important because they can see the traffic congestion out there every day, but again, we're looking at not only what's happening today, but what's going to happen in the future to try to make sure that whatever fix we put in, whether that's an intersection improvement or widening, it's a long-term solution or as long as term we can get for the investment that's being made. So happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mitchum, and certainly, council colleagues. A lot of this is going to also be on our agenda for our retreat in the next couple of weeks, but we're going to take some comments now. Mr. Wehrman?
Sure, yeah. Well, Mr. Mitchum, I appreciate it. One thing I'd be interested in hearing and looking at all the red on that map, I didn't hear a whole lot about public transit. I know we've got some studies at the CARTA level about, $2 million to fund the downtown route study. I'd certainly be interested in hearing what can be done to make public transit a more serious part of the transit system here in Charleston County. I think if we're ever going to get off the hamster wheel of building roads that get more and more expensive and take 20 years to build, we're going to have to look at alternatives here. So, if you're looking for direction, I'd ask for a little bit of information in that regard, because I think that needs to be a big part of our conversations coming up here in the next couple of months.
Well, obviously, I'm partial to transit since I have to answer for that on a lot of days. And I am hopeful that we can have a conversation about the funding level for transit. We certainly have plans, and we can, demonstrate how we would spend those dollars and expand that service. And you're exactly right. When you look at a lot of these corridors, there's not a lot we can do to add capacity. So again, we have to figure out how can we maximize what we have, and we can do some of that with technology, but also a lot of it with transit. So, we're hoping to have that conversation.
Well, and I might just add, just as a comment, not even for you, Mr. Mitchum, but, when you see that much red, and we've got natural resources we want to protect and that sort of thing, I do think that, as you mentioned, some of this is not just the infrastructure that's built, but the zoning that accompanies it. Does that zoning fit with the sort of built infrastructure that we've got, or is it a mismatch? And I think so. A lot of this is not just going to be from the COG. It's going to have to be at the county level, at the city of North Charleston level, the city of Charleston level, the town of Mount Pleasant, into Berkeley County, into Dorchester County. So,
well, I would comment on that. Yeah, I appreciate that comment. That that is part of why we did reality check recently. Is we wanted people to really start to look and think about how we're using that land. And we worked with the city of Charleston not too long ago in Clements Ferry, at a couple developments there, trying to look at the number of units, because we were concerned about the capacity and the long-term life of Clements Ferry, if you will, if they built all the units that theoretically they could. So we did see that reduction in that, which actually keeps that at a reasonable level of service. Our problem with Clements Ferry will not be the contribution from the developments. It will be the intersection with 526, which won't happen fast enough to address the growth on Clements Ferry. But you're exactly right. We need to be having those conversations about how we're using that land and allowing that development to occur, and whether it makes sense for the facility that exists there, particularly in areas where we don't see an easy solution to widen it or expand capacity.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Boykin?
Mr. Mitchum, based on your experience and knowledge with all of the transportation issues that you've worked through in your career, would you consider the congestion and safety to be maybe the top two priorities, or do you have other thoughts on that?
Well, that's what we hear the most from folks. Again, that's, where we would think you would put your priorities based on what we expect would come out of a public survey process or public input process. That's, what people are most concerned about is, can they get back and forth to work safely, and congestion. And I'll point out that a lot of times when we get into these discussions about projects, folks in your position can get worried about, not having something in this location or that location. But I just would remind you that most folks are focused a lot on that commute, because that's where they spend so much of their time, and that vehicle is running back and forth to work in peak times. They may go all over the place for recreational activities and other things, but that's not always in that peak time. So that's where they feel the most frustrated, and sometimes, feel is the most dangerous situations.
Would be, looking at the staggering number of commuters we have coming into Charleston County and the jobs being in Charleston County, do you think that's a unique situation for us as compared to the other counties as far as the volume or percentage of our population that commutes to Charleston County
No,
daily?
it's not unique. You know, if you think of three counties working together or being together, it's not unique. What's unique here is we don't have as much real estate to work with. We don't have 360 degrees with a central city. You know, we've got a peninsula with sort of everything coming this way, and then, of course, the constraints that come with being in a peninsula environment, lots of wetlands. So, you know, it just makes it tougher. And then, of course, the nature of some of the activities, you know, being downtown, tourism, and, of course, hospitals and things like that, sort of drives a lot of traffic. And we don't have 360 degrees to work with to you know, bring that traffic from different directions. So it's a little bit more challenging here than it would be in a lot of other places.
Sir.
Vice Chair Kabrowski.
Well, thank you. I have just two quick questions. One I saw your map and there was a heavy red line on the Isle of Palms, and I was trying to figure out, if I was looking at what that is that because you're anticipating so many more people being here because of beach traffic, or has that had to do with residential things? So I didn't know anywhere else they could build there.
Well, it's a combination of both. It's just there's a lot of demand at times to be on the island, and you don't have much capacity there, so it tends to load up.
That was more congestion issue than a residential one, because, am I right? Because I
Yeah.
don't see anywhere they can build
Yeah.
anything there.
Yeah, it's more of just the fact that, you know, you've got, similar to, you know, folks coming to downtown, you have a lot of folks who are trying to come to the beach community at periods of time, which add to that, and there's just not a lot of capacity to handle that additional load. So,
And second, I was on the Charleston County School Board almost 25 years ago, and I remember driving around as they were in Beast Ferry Road and all the areas out to Woodfield property, and there was nothing but miles and miles of swamp and forest, and hearing all the same things about how we're going to manage it from smart growth and zoning and traffic. It's a nightmare as a result, and then the loss of the wetlands and the flooding. What lessons can we learn from all the mistakes that were made to develop that like it is, and all the congestion and overdevelopment? Is because you're anticipating that on steroids now for our future. What can we do to learn from the nightmarish mistakes we made with traffic and congestion so we can not do that again?
well, you know, and of course, I run a planning agency, so immediately I'm biased, and so you
Right.
know that. But you know, we need to invest more in planning and communicating amongst ourselves when it comes to planning. I mean, you know, far too often, and I'm not picking on the school district, but, you know, we get in our silos of things we're trying to solve. The school's trying to build a school. Well, one of the first things is cheap land. Well, cheap land is usually further out, you know. And so, you know, immediately you've taken something big and putting it out there, and you're drawing traffic in a different way. So, you know, it's one of those things where I think we do need to get together and be having conversations about how we can do a better job of coordinating and not creating, you know, not solving one problem and maybe creating some additional, you know, but we spread those costs sometimes that we can't really see the true cost of, you know, building a new school and locating in a certain area or doing this particular activity.
Blame the school district.
Oh, I'm not
I
blaming
was
them
trying
either.
to see that all this development happened, and we knew it was going to happen, and it still happened in ways that we didn't plan for adequately.
Well, yes, sir, and, you know, we're very pro-property rights, so it allows folks to develop their property, and, you know, it's one of those challenges. I mean, we're seeing development in areas that, you know, Harleyville, for instance, you know, in Dorchester County. You know, we have development in Harleyville. You know, typically development in Harleyville is one house being built in a year, something like that, not 200 or 300 houses being, but it's, you know, it's a function of the affordability issues that relates to housing. It's a function of generational change. As parents are passing away, kids don't want to be farmers, don't want to be responsible for farmland, so it's, you know, they're selling. And so you've got that kind of change occurring.
Ms. Honeycutt is online, and I'm not certain if she wishes to ask a question or two. Ms. Honeycutt, are you
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your recognition. I appreciate the presentations, both by staff and the BCD COG. So I don't have any questions at this time.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mitchum, thank you, sir. I might note, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Mitchum is not invited to our retreat, I think
He
you
is
should-
invited.
Okay, good. I want to
Yeah.
make sure you're going to be there. I'd like to maybe digest this
Yeah.
a little bit more. But one question I had for you, you mentioned you pulled out a project. I'm assuming that's 526 you pulled out, and that's what created the disaster on 2045. Is that reflective of taking 526 out?
Obviously, you pull that project out, then projects that previously had a level of service that was more acceptable changes.
Thank
So
you.
they-
I'd like to,
Yeah.
can
Yeah, so
can the
we're
clerk get this
gonna-
to us? I'd like to review this a little bit more, but I just wanted to confer that was the project that you pulled out that made the mess.
And we will have a robust conversation
Thank you,
at
sir.
our retreat. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Mitchum.
Thank you.
Moving to item 3A, opposition to offshore drilling, request to adopt.
A, B, and C.
Thank you so much. Probably moved and seconded. All
Question?
those in,
Just quick question.
oh, yes.
Yeah, I just, have we, and I support all of these, but I didn't know if we'd had the solicitor or the sheriff look at B. The only question is, I think we did this in 19, it was very well received, but I thought I'd heard some feedback from the Sheriff's Association that maybe some of the language in our documentation. Ms. Salisbury, does this ring a bell with you at all, or am I just making this up?
I did not run this by the sheriff
Okay.
or the solicitor.
Okay.
Happy to do
I
that.
don't want to hold it up, but
Right.
I want to make sure that our language in this thing didn't hold up any prosecutions or anything like
Right.
that.
I
to the
don't
solicitor.
I don't recall that feedback from
Okay. I'm
2019,
good.
but I don't always hear the same feedback y'all hear.
Thank you.
Mr. Darby?
Is there any specificity in terms of the bill, in terms of the number? We're just blatantly saying hate crime legislation. Should there not be some specificity in terms of what bill? So what bill are we talking about, sir?
Previously, we were talking about the Clemente Pinckney.
Is that H 3069, something of that nature?
We can get the bill number. I know that there are a
Okay.
number of bills. I know Senator Margie Bright Matthews and others also co-signed on a different bill on the senatorial side, so we can get the number.
Okay, I think it's 3039, I think, so I was just wondering whether that was the bill, sir, just wondering.
And it may be, Mr. Darby, that the session has ended this year, so the bill number might change in the next session.
Mr. Boykin?
To Mr. Moody's point, if this is about a particular bill, I would agree that it'd be prudent to at least have some input from the sheriff and the solicitor before we moved it forward. Just make sure that there's nothing in any language that they would object to as far as their ability to enforce the law and prosecute cases.
All right, Mr. Kabrowski?
Is that a motion to get the input of the sheriff and or you just?
Well, so we have a motion,
Motion on the
right?
floor.
We have a motion on the floor, and we're kind of just providing comments at this time in debate of the motion that's already on the floor.
I would just say, I would look to the example of what Mount Pleasant did. I thought that the town of Mount Pleasant addressed this in a good manner. They had a problem there with somebody who was obviously trying to intimidate and promote hate, and there was nothing on the books other than a littering fine, and they changed that so they had something they could enforce to reach. I would just caution in this, and because what is hate in one person's eye, and I recognize that in the city of New York today, they may be electing somebody who, in my opinion, is very anti-Semitic, and they could have things there to outlaw people who believe in Israel or Zionism or things against Jews, and to them, the mayor, he wouldn't find that acceptable. And I think that everybody should be secure in their home and how they live, whoever you are and what you look like. And I think it's a good thing to protect people and keep them from violence. But it's in the eye of the beholder. And I know that, for instance, I took the case that ended racial and ethnic quotas to get in public schools in Charleston County. To me, that was hate because you were weighing people differently to get into school and making decisions on where their ancestors came from. And I got attacked for that, for promoting hate. So and in England, it's also used as a vehicle for, in the way politics are now, every side accuses the other side against crimes against humanity, and they all do that. And I just, caution, I'm for anything that helps protect people from, and I mentioned even at our meetings, at the end of the meetings, I was surrounded by those who came to protest something that I had nothing to do with, and I probably would have been the only one to have voted not to give the tax incentives to what they were talking about. When they came to surround my car, they didn't care about that. They hated me for in my opinion, my existence, and some board members actually met with them. In my mind, they were hate people, and I was a victim of their hate. I wouldn't want them arrested. They were protesting, but they saw them as protesting and me as promoting hate because of what I believe. And I saw them as the opposite. So I just wonder, to be careful who gets to decide what is hate, and for those of us who are religious and believe in the Bible, if at some point in time people can say what we believe is full of hate, and so it's just, again, I want people to be protected from violence, and nobody should be, as somebody who, lived with that, people are multifaceted. They can be, and I knew growing up that people could hate you, and the worst hate mongers could have parents who are drunks or abuse them, and they weren't really criminals. The children who would promote violence, they were victims themselves. And I just, I hope, it accomplishes the purpose of protecting people for who they are, for whatever their backgrounds, but be cautionary about who gets to decide what is offensive or not. Thank you.
Mr. Boykin?
Mr. Chair, I certainly want to support this, but I would ask for some room to move, so to speak, if this might be deferred so that I can consult with our sheriff and our solicitor, just for my own edification, to make sure that there's nothing in the language of the proposed bill that they deem to be problematic. I apologize, I didn't.
So,
Not a bill. This is just in general, and I missed that. I thought somebody mentioned a bill.
Yeah.
Darby mentioned a bill. But
Okay, thank you, Mr. Administrator. I recant.
This is just a resolution. Perhaps another time we will come forward with something more.
Yes, sir.
Specific, okay? Can we do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. He said perhaps in the future we can come up with something more substantive as in the form of a
As opposed to
resolution or an
generality.
ordinance. Mr. Pryor?
We're confusing the situation. This is just a resolution saying we support whatever bill that comes out of the State House against, nobody's trying to, limit somebody's freedom of speech or right to protest. I think this is just saying whatever bill comes out of the State House, we would like to say we support something, because we are only one of two states in the whole entire United States that doesn't even have a hate crime bill. And so whatever happens at the General Assembly, whatever we do is not going to affect it, because that's going to have to be done by the General Assembly. Now, some of these bills have passed through the House, but when it got to the state, it got stalled. Representative Gilliard did a good job for the last 2 or 3 cycles, but all we are saying is we support a hate crime bill. Let them debate what comes out, and then get something on the book, because right now we don't have anything on the book.
Mr. Boykin?
I'm fine to support this, thank you. I was misunderstood that there was a specific piece of legislation,
No.
thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
I'm going to just say, I think it should be clarified that a hate crime bill makes, increases the penalties for stuff that would already be a crime. So it's not talking about speech or stuff. It's like, if you kill someone for hateful reasons, then, maybe the penalty is high. I guess murder would already be the highest it could be. But the point is, it just enhances penalties for certain motivations for stuff that would already be illegal. So we're not making anything illegal that wouldn't already be illegal. And we're not even doing it. We're just saying we think the state should do so.
Ms. Honeycutt? All right. She may not be in a position. So all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it.
I'm sorry,
Ms.
Mr.
Honeycutt,
Chairman.
yes, ma'am.
It's difficult for me to get off mute, but I do not have any comment on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, consent agenda. We can either take them one.
For approval, A through J.
Okay, so can we do A through H and J separate and leave?
Fine, and then we
take I
can come
out?
back to I, because I think some people
Yeah.
got some questions.
That's
on
right.
I. Okay,
I'll accept that.
all right.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. For aye,
Second.
probably moved and seconded. Now we can have discussion. Ms. Vice Chair Kabrowski.
As I
Or
understand.
would you like to be called last?
I can be going. Well, if I can make a comment now. And then
Okay, thank you so
again,
much.
If it's possible, as I understand that this is for a Chamber of Commerce fly-in, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And I said, well, I mean, in my opinion, why would we be reimbursing or paying for this? Out of public money, taxpayers' money that comes from everybody. Chamber has a right to do what they want, but they've also involved themselves in politics. They have a PAC that gives money to some of the people here and against some of the people here. And they were heavily involved in the sales tax referendum. And if somebody wants to go to this, they have every right to do it. And I feel they ought to pay their own money and not have taxpayers pay for it. Thank you.
Mr. Wareman?
Well, I think that, and I have not been on this, but I think this is a event that involves meeting with a lot of our federal representatives and folks at the federal level. I mean, we've seen today how federal regulations and laws can impact the county in terms of delaying roads being built for the better part of a decade. I think there are numerous issues in which, folks can lobby, and frankly, Councilwoman Honeycutt, I know, was instrumental in a lot of the communications at the state level in getting the accommodations tax changed to allow for affordability. So, I don't have any issue with her or anyone, going and using this as an opportunity to voice the concerns of the county to our federal representatives and other folks at the federal level. I don't think we're subsidizing the costs of the event writ large for the entire chamber. This is to reimburse, in this case, Councilwoman Honeycutt, who would certainly be acting in her capacity as councilwoman and advancing the interests of the county. So that's what.
Correct. I think Mr. Boykin
Let's go into this one.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Boykin?
sorry. I'm
Mr. Boykin.
reading this wrong.
Or-
This is Ms. Honeycutt.
Oh, Ms. Honeycutt, I'm sorry. I know he's going to a different one. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And what I've done in the past is I've always reserved myself, if someone else wanted to go, I would get out of the way, and if nobody wanted to go, I'd be happy to represent Charleston County. Mr. Kabrowski, I've been on this trip twice, and it's been invaluable. I've met with leaders in the Pentagon. I've met with the ambassadors of Canada. I've met with the Coast Guard, the Navy. I mean, everything up there. I've had face-to-face meetings with Senator Graham and Ms. Mace and Congressman Clyburn. This is FaceTime and an opportunity to share our concerns for Charleston County, because those are our representatives. I don't see them every day. And also presentations. I went and met with the Federal Highway Commission or whatever, and the Department of Transportation, and learned about, private and public partnerships. And there's so many, there are grants out there that I'm not going to learn about these things here. And I'm certainly not going to, gain the knowledge on these trips. I've enjoyed both of my trips up there. I brought something back every time I've gone. There's also members of city council and town councils that attend and go with us. So it's a networking opportunity with our peers, and they're all local as well. And I will say this to you, there's been nothing political about it. It's been governmental related and for the benefit of the public. And we have a budget in the clerk's office that covers this. And so it's airfare and lodging while we're up there. It's a business trip. And I've been with Mr. Wehrman on one out to Austin, Texas. And he can speak for himself on what we learned out there. But again, I don't see it that way. I think it's a great opportunity, especially new people like myself, to gain that awareness and knowledge. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Darby?
Well, sir, trained in the social studies, I've been trained to be objective in all things. When I taught U.S. history, I just couldn't talk about the Union soldiers, I had to talk about the Confederate soldiers as well, so that my student would have a balance of the two. I couldn't evince my pro-unionism opposed to the Confederates. So I seem to say this, Mr. Gabrowski, Mr. Kidd does have a point in terms of a political arm. They may not use an arm nationally, but locally it does. If there's any veracity in it, that there's a certain council member here who was not in favor of 526. And members of the chamber threatened that if you don't see it our way, we're going to run somebody against you. Is that fair? That sounds like a political wing to me. So these dollars are locally given to the chamber, and they do use it for political reasons. I am of the opinion that in the future, when we give these dollars to the chambers, we need to scrutinize that organization just as we do the small organizations. The chamber's dollars have never been scrutinized in terms of how they're going to use it. They use it as they want to, and that's not right, because there's a saying, what is best for the best should be best for the rest. So Mr. Kidd does have a point in terms of a political arm locally, and we should not be giving dollars to any organization that's going to promote one political party over the other.
All right, Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess this covers us for the 7A item as well. I thought it was a great summary by Mr. Werman and Mr. Boykin. I would correct the record to say the Chamber of Commerce doesn't have any there's a political action committee that does. But you want to talk about money unaccounted for into a black hole. Let's talk about the Animal Society. Let's see who they're donating to and who their executives are giving to. So it goes both ways. So I can have that discussion. You know I can get those as a rabbit hole. But it's off the agenda, so I'm not going to go there tonight. But let's just be careful what we do. But I thought those were great summaries. But the Austin trip, Austin, Texas, was a great trip. I went on one a couple of years ago. I mentioned, DNR. Look what that got us today, yanking these boats out of the river. Those kind of connections you make on these type of things. So it's multifaceted. So.
All right, Mr. Gabrowski.
Just briefly, my point.
Point of order. I think somebody else wanted to speak first. Everybody needs to be afforded a first chance to speak before somebody goes second.
Maybe
I did
a
not
better
see
way-
him, so I do apologize.
No apology needed. Maybe a better way to do this moving into the future, if someone wants to travel, then the county council will make the arrangements themselves and pay for tickets and stuff themselves instead of reimbursing, somebody for paying for it up front.
That is our policy. We make all of the arrangements, and the county pays for it. You have a policy that council members can attend events sponsored by the South Carolina Association of Counties
Right.
and the National Association of Counties, and anything else that a council member wants to pay for has to be approved by county council.
But what
That
I'm-
doesn't just cover travel, it covers anything else.
It makes it look in its current form as if the chamber is paying and reimbursing them.
Oh.
I think Mr. Kabrowski said reimburse them, but, so we are not reimbursing them.
No,
He's
sir.
just asking to go along with them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we'll register, if y'all approve this, we'll register Mrs. Honeycutt. We'll pay for the fee to go to the trip
Yes.
and make all of the.
Meal per diem and all that
Make the
other
travel
stuff.
arrangements. Y'all aren't allowed to get per diem. We reimburse you dollar for dollar, but that's a
No,
state
yeah.
law that covers that.
Okay, so, all right, so maybe that's the best way to explain it. They're going on behalf of council,
Right.
not on behalf of the chamber.
That's exactly right.
All right, Mr. Gabrowski.
This briefly, my point was that from my time here, I see that many of the decisions the council make is more influenced by the movers and shakers and people who have an economic interest in what we do. And as I saw borne out by the sales tax referendum, I thought that it behooved council members to spend less time with those who are movers and shakers and have less of an interest in the outcome than the rank and file people who live here that are live in the congestion or fear about losing the quality of life or more congestion and overdevelopment. And that was my point.
Mr. Boykin?
Mr. Kabrowski, you are testing my patience tonight. I'm telling you. How dare you label all of us that way? I ran on 526 before I ever met anybody with the Chamber of Commerce or ever went on any trip. Shame on you for saying that about me and anybody else that way. That's not fair. I didn't change my mind and was influenced by some group or of individuals or some organization. I have stood my ground and been the same place the entire time. The vote's been taken. It's over. Let's move on. How about it? Thank you.
All right, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, nay.
Well,
Okay, how many nays?
I just had a comment before I was cut off, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
You didn't see me, sir.
No.
Perhaps I'm a little too dark in the
No,
corner, sir.
oh, no, I think I'm
okay.
darker than you, sir. So let's not play the dark game. I think I'm
Hey,
the
Mr. Chairman,
darkest.
he also got
one
on a
up
white
here.
shirt, so it's easy to spot him.
Yeah, so please, let's not go there.
Okay.
All right, Mr. So
Yes,
I
sir.
will retract that. So, Mr. Darby, please make
Yes,
your
sir.
comment.
I would just like to see, beyond this conversation here, I would just like for perhaps in the future, just as we know where those dollars are going to, as Mr. Moody said, say for instance like the Animal Society, we also need to know where the dollars are going to with the chamber. That's it,
Absolutely.
sir. That's all.
Point well taken.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, item 5A, Tri-County Biological Science Center Utility.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
Ms. Honeycutt.
apologize.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
wanted to note that I am abstaining from the vote involving myself. I support Mr. Boykin's request.
Yes, ma'am. Previous vote, she's the one going on the trip, so she's abstaining from voting.
But it's
All right. Item
Move for
5A,
approval 5A and B.
probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, opposers, nay. And now we're at 6, item 6, boards and commissions, St. Andrews Parks and Playground. Now, some of these are contested, some are uncontested. Yes, sir, Mr. Pryor?
Move for approval for those that are uncontested.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Second.
will you- Probably moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, will you delineate the ones
Yes, sir,
that are
it's A through E.
A through E are uncontested?
That's right.
All right, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. All right, 6F.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would recommend Alan Coker.
All
David
right.
Allen Coker.
David Allen Coker. All right, Mr. Moody?
We have
I
two
was the same.
applications.
Okay,
and one
Moody has the
person.
same. Mr., all right. Well, anybody else to recommend? Let me ask that.
I should say, by acclamation, we approve Mr. Alan Coker.
All right, is that a second?
The judge?
Second.
All right, all properly moved and seconded. Everybody in favor by acclamation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Thank you so much, Mr. David Allen Coker, Base Redevelopment Authority. Item 6G, Charleston County Parks and Recreation. We can nominate and appoint 4 commissioners. Ms. Not Ms. Honeycutt, Ms. Salisbury, do you want to try to get people's?
Yes, sir, do we have nominations?
Yeah,
or-
I'm-
Some are
Okay,
here.
Mr. Wehrman? Are there individuals
Yes, if
here that
anyone's
would like
here.
to speak? Thank you
Yes,
so much,
there you
Mr.
go.
Wehrman. Yes. Please just state your name and your case.
Thank you very much
And your
for the
address,
opportunity.
please.
And I want to thank you for the times that I've been allowed to serve as a volunteer for the Charleston County Parks and Rec. And it's like an investment in the community. And what else would I be doing on the second Monday of every month if I didn't have this to do? So I'm requesting that you please reconsider me for reappointment. I love what I do. I love the fact that we are creating healthy lifestyles for the community, trails, parks, exercise, educational programs. So I want to see those things continue, and that would be my legacy to the community and my contribution.
Can you state your name again?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even say my name. I'm Major Matisse LeCue, U.S. Army retired, and I'm also federal government retired, and I've been back home since 2007, and I've been a part of the Charleston County Parks and Recs since 2009. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I think she said 2009.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Michelle Brandt. I live at 1923 Palmwood Avenue in North Charleston. Is that all you needed? The required part? Okay. Again, I'm Michelle. I'm a mom of 3 now. Last time I came before you, I only had 2 children. I am an avid user of the parks. I love being on this commission. I currently serve as your vice chair of the Charleston County Parks Commission. And I bring a vital part of the board, and I bring vital leadership. My background is in environmental science, and I also serve on the Chamber of Commerce's Regional Policy Committee, as well as a co-facilitator of the Charleston Chapter Chamber of Mothers. As a dedicated park user and parent, I bring a critical representation of my demographic to the direct benefits of the parks. I am committed to strategically advancing our Parks and Recreation for All 2023 plan, ensuring the fiscal responsible decisions that prioritize equitable access, environmental resilience, and family-friendly amenities. Public health as well as community well-being. I am dedicated to maximizing the value of every tax dollar spent on our parks, and I respectfully ask for your support and your vote for my reappointment. And I just want to say, I brought a little guest with me. This is my son, Theo. He has been very patient. I didn't know y'all were going to be doing all the deliberation today, but he's a rock star, so I just wanted to give him a shout out. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you all so much. Oh, we have others. Come on up.
Thank you, Chairman Middleton and members of council. My name is Amy Adams. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I am a resident of North Charleston in District 3. I live at 5170 Celtic Drive. I've always been strived to be someone that helps, and I've long wanted to contribute to the community, but my career in clinical research required frequent business travel that made that prohibitive to do. However, I'm recently retired and now have the time and availability. I applied for the Parks and Recreation Commission for two reasons. One is I just have a tremendous appreciation for the parks that we have, the boat launches, the community centers, and the other properties that help make this county a wonderful place to live. I believe strongly in the mission of the commission and the 2030 strategic plan that they've created. The second reason that I applied for this appointment is that my background is in project management, process improvement, and organizational effectiveness. I would welcome the opportunity to bring these skills to help support the executive director and the staff of the PRC in their important work for the county. I put my goals for this appointment in my application, which I'm sure you have, but maybe just to keep it short, just to say what I think I also bring is a real commitment to ensuring that the commission has the accurate, has enough data to make informed decisions about future parks, changes to existing parks. I'm committed to using the county funds wisely. And as a resident of North Charleston, I've also attended Low Country Rapid Transit oversight meetings, and so bring that input as well. I'd be really committed to bringing the strategic plan forward. I appreciate your leadership, and thank you for considering me for this appointment.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Garrett Lacey, 1489 Kenlock Lane, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. First and foremost, thank you for your service, and I appreciate your consideration. A little bit about me is I grew up east of the Cooper. I'm a small business owner. I'm in the fishing charter industry and in boat sales, hence why I'm this red. So I frequent a Charleston County Park every day, either myself or one of my subcontractors in that capacity. I also serve as the former vice chair of the Mount Pleasant Planning Commission, where not only did we completely rewrite our zoning code, we further push for green space, livability, mobility, as well as doubling our tree protection zone. So conservation is at the core of what I do. It's actually what pays my bills. So again, thank you very much for your consideration, and thank you for your service.
Good evening. My name is Gilbert Bradham Jr., Gil for short. I have been in this community for years. I started the volunteer service with the Wadmalaw Land Use Commission. We help protect Wadmalaw. When you cross the Church Creek Bridge, there is no more development. My brother is the mayor of Rockville, continues that service at this point. I've done various and different things. I've worked as a court-appointed receiver for Judge Michael Scarborough, the Master in Equity, taking over assets, running those, doing all the applications of keeping, for instance, apartment complexes and so forth going. I've been involved in commercial real estate acquisitions and so forth. One of those was a park acquisition for Charleston County Parks and Recreation Commission. I've been involved with it before, been embedded in the community, multiple degrees at the Citadel, continuing the process, continuing volunteer synergy along with working as well. So I've been there, I've done that. I would love to serve on this. This is something that I can accomplish and make happen. And I would love to have you all support. I also had approximately 30 years at the Medical University Wellness Center, running member operations there. So I'm familiar with recreation. And I would appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name's Chris Johnston, 304 Heidels Way. I live on James Island. I was born and raised James Island. And I actually worked for the park system from 2008 to 2014. Now currently work in the maritime industry. But throughout my time with the park system, I worked Folly Beach County Park, Folly Beach Fish and Pier, various different roles in operations, maintenance, you name it, I did it. So I still have a lot of the friends that are within the park system. I know how they work. I know how decisions get made. I know what the people that work for the parks want and what would make them provide better service to the community. And I would love to promote more expansion of the park system. And I would just appreciate your consideration for the role. Thank y'all.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Gulbis, 5 Gadsdenborough Street, Charleston. I'm a medical student at the Medical University of South Carolina down here in Charleston, and I'm an avid user of our park system pretty much every day, from participating in the Charleston Sprint Triathlon Series to the Save the Light Half Marathon and using our parks, again, like I said, pretty much daily. Professionally, I come from experience in public service and emergency response, working in fire, EMS, emergency management, and search and rescue. I also have experience in the board setting, where I served on the Clemson University Funding Board, where we oversaw the distribution equitably of about $4 million to our campuses, student organizations for recreational efforts. I also volunteered significantly with Spartanburg County, their emergency management and public service division. In the wake of Hurricane Helene, I oversaw the state's largest disaster medical relief shelter and have overseen large-scale disaster response teams. I see parks and recreation kind of as a form of public health and primary prevention in disease. I think it's important that our communities have access to green spaces, recreational activities, and the ability to have greater life expectancy and outcomes with those access to parks. I'd like to promote accessibility, sustainability, and safety within our park system, ensuring that our communities have access to green spaces in an equitable fashion, that we're promoting green spaces and ecosystem sustainability in the face of continued development in Charleston County. And I'd like to ensure that our parks remain safe, that community members can feel safe going to parks, and that they feel safe within their communities through promotion of safety initiatives within the parks. I'd be a big supporter of the Parks and Recreation for All initiative, as well as the strategic plan, ensuring that our community members are able to access the parks and enjoy all of the offerings that we have for them. Thank you.
Can you repeat your name?
Yes, sir. Tyler Gulbis.
All right. Is there another? All right, so council persons, again, I think we've done this a variety of different ways. Sometimes a roll call vote and you just give, your top 4.
Sure.
And then we let the clerk record it from that perspective, and whoever gets the top number of votes become the 4 persons.
We can do
Madam,
that.
Yeah, Madam Clerk.
Okay, Mr. Boykin?
Taggart, Bradham, Adams, and Lacey.
Bradham, Adams, Lacey. Mr. Darby?
Adams, LeCue, Brandt, Johnson.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Taggart, Lacey, Johnston, just 3.
See, what did she say? I can.
Taggart, Lacey, and Johnson. Mr. Kabrowski?
Garrett, Lacey, Gilbert Bradham, Tower Gobus, and LeCue.
Mr. Moody?
Mrs. Adams, Mr. Taggart, Mr. Bradham, Mr. Lacy.
Mr. Pryor?
I'm going with Taggart, LeCue, Brandt, and Curry.
Okay. Mr. Sass?
Lacy, Adams, Taggart, and Bradham.
Mr. Werman?
Ms. Adams, Ms. LeCue, Ms. Brandt, and Mr. Golbus.
Chairman Middleton?
Adams, Brandt, Golbus, LeCue.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 0. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I have Adams, Lacy, LeCue, and Taggart. Adams had 6, Lacy had 5, LeCue had 5, Taggart had 5. Bradham had 4, Brandt had 4, Curry had 1, Gallagher had 0, and Golbus had 3.
All right, so we thank all of those who offered themselves, and certainly the ones who came here today and made your case. I know we have lots of other boards and commissions, so we certainly welcome your service. Thank you so very much. Item 7A, I think we've already pretty much had that conversation. Can we agree, or
Yes, sir.
do you all still wish to discuss that further? All right, anybody on this end? All right. We do have need for an executive session. 10 minutes, would you say, Madam Attorney? All right, and can you give us the stated reason?
Yes, sir. We have a need for an executive session for the purposes of discussing the offer with regards to purchase of 993 and 995 Morrison Drive.
All right, we'll take 10 minutes.
So moved.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposers, nay. We'll be back in 10 minutes. All right, we are back from executive session. No votes were taken, no decisions were made, so we are moving forward to our audit committee. That committee is led by Mr. Sass. Mr. Sass.
Chairman, members of this committee are Joe Boykin, Henry Darby, and Brantley Moody, and of course, the chairman of county council. First item, approval of minutes of January
Move to
28,
approve.
2025.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, deletions, additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 2, probate judge reimbursement. I received today a letter, an email from Judge Condon with a number of paragraphs, and we will be discussing those paragraphs, and we will bring this back at our next audit committee meeting, which will be at the next 5 o'clock council meeting, which is in July, and I'm not sure what the date that is. Ms. Salisbury, do you have it?
Sorry. It would be July 17th. Mhm. Yes, sir.
At 5 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Is the committee in agreement?
Yes, sir.
What is that now you said, Mr. Sass?
We will meet on July 17th at 5 o'clock. We'll have our audit committee meeting, and we'll discuss the points that were brought up by Mr. Condon at that time, by Judge Condon at that time.
Oh, I just want to know. I'm not on the committee, so I
Right, okay. All right, thank you. All in favor on the committee? Mr. Moody?
Mr. Boykin had a question first, I think.
Mr. Boykin?
To make sure when we have that meeting that we can have procurement and the internal auditor available for any questions we might have.
Yes, sir, I believe everyone will be available.
Mr. Sass, that brings me to a point. You know, we have 4 persons that report directly to council, the administrator, the attorney, the clerk, and the internal auditor, and it just makes me feel badly that Mr. Stewart is sitting all the way out there in the nosebleed, whereby he should have a prominent seat, you know, somewhere up here as one of the 4 direct report persons. So I just wanted to note that.
Person.
Regardless
Very quiet.
of his privacy, he should still be afforded a seat.
He likes to be able to see the whole field. Thank you all very much.
Chairman,
That's the
Mr. Chairman,
end.
just.
Oh, Mr.
Yeah,
Moody,
well, I was
I'm
going
sorry.
to tell Mr. Middleton, be careful, you might have 9 people that run for the back rows, so be careful.
Are there any other questions?
For the record, has the fine been paid yet that was promised on May 2 of 2024?
No, sir. Thank you. Mr. Middleton, I return to your guidance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sass. At this time, we're going to go to our Planning and Public Works. Mr. Pryor.
All members of council participates. Item number 1, approval of minutes for June 5th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion, deletion, additions?
Commendations to the clerk.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2A and B, consideration of Orange Hill Development Agreement, and the second one is ZREZ 03250015 Orange Hill Plan Development. What is the pleasure?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Boykin?
I do have a motion to make, if I may.
Okay, sir.
Regarding the Orange Hill Development Agreement. I move to approve the Planning Commission recommendation and add the following conditions. Amend Development Agreement Sections 11.F.A and 11.F.B to change the receiving entity of the fees to support housing initiatives from the Charleston County Community Development and Revitalization Department, CCCDRD, to the Charleston County Community Services Directorate, CCCSD. To also revise Section 14 on page 21 of the development agreement to update the table to show the correct numbers of trees encroached upon and unaffected in the various categories, and also revise Exhibit 14.1 tree plan to correct the tables to show the correct number of trees that are encroached upon and unaffected trees in the various categories, and revise the graphics to reflect the correct numbers and locations of trees encroached upon and unaffected. And secondly, I move to approve the Planning Commission recommendation.
What, to write the amend up the third reading?
Sure.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, in case something else comes up, you'll be able to do that. Any discussion from council members? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Item 3A and B, what is the pleasure?
Move for, yep, second, I'll second whoever did that.
Move to approve A and B. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Ms. Honeycutt, are you an aye?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that concludes our Planning and Public Works Committee. Make sure Ms. Honeycutt is aye on all three of these items. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you so very much, thank you so very much, Mr. Pryor and Mr. Sass, for the fine way in which you all ran your meetings. At this time, we're going to go into our public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on the proposed main corridor Segment A tree removal and mitigation at 6:30 p.m. on June 24th, 2025.
Anyone signed up?
Yes. We have Mary Gwynn, followed by Anthony Bryant, and then Susan Kershaw.
All right, please give your name and state your name and your address.
My name is Mary Gwynn, and I live at 3618 Loggerhead Court, Seabrook Island.
Thank you.
And I'm here representing the Magnolia Garden Club, of which I am president, and we have 28 members. The concern of Magnolia is the butcher oak. We have been working on that intersection tree at Chisholm in Maine since the 80s. The garden club has been on the island for the last 73 years, and we want that tree preserved and continue to support it with drainage, irrigation, and electrical. And we ask the board to please consider hiring a landscape architect who is specializing in native plants when you do the tree mitigation, so it is a one-to-one of a tree that will survive there. Because the coastal area is a different environment than the upstate. So we need that consideration. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anthony G. Bryant, Susan Kershaw, Liz Munn.
Hope those don't get caught up in my fanciful thoughts and animated opinions on Facebook, but this is pretty real right now. I was at the school board meeting on last night, and it affirmed my concern. Anthony Bryant, AG Bryant Group Inc., P.O. Box 20384, also SC 29493, 29413. My FOIA came back from Pam Bondi, from Michael G. Cedal, Records Management Division, Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Executive Office of U.S. United States Attorney, and also Federal Bureau of Prisons. I've gotten that back already from Pam Bondi today. So, I mean, on the 17th. We'll talk about it in my public comment. But it is true that the Chamber of Commerce does have indirect initiatives. That means that if you go against them, they will then use your accounts with them and assist law enforcement in indirect initiatives. That means that if you're against 526, indirect initiative is you take your accounts, they use your accounts, your personal accounts, against you and refer you to local, state, and federal law enforcement. That is a fact here. So I'm against a lot of this stuff. That is a fact. And Senator Scott, I hadn't seen Senator Scott in years. Senator, he appointed me years ago. You got to go pay money to go see Senator Scott, to go see Nancy Mace. You got to pay money to the Chamber of Commerce to have a sit down with them, and the average citizen can't talk to them at all. How's that insulting? How's that offensive? It's not offensive at all. They have an obligation to meet with the people here, where the people can meet them at in large numbers. After the Chamber of Commerce, put an everyday folk that don't have $1 million to give Tim Scott, time 500 of them. You got $500 million. Banks give the Congress. And who gives that money to them? U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Keep it real. So let's get back to the subject matter at hand. The school board and others need to have a planning department. At a planning department. They need a planning department. They made all these decisions, and they've made over the years with trees and everything in their pocket. I'll sit for the next one.
Susan Kershaw, Liz Munn, Randy Delp.
Hi, my name is Susan Kershaw. I live at 3605 Berry Hill Road on Johns Island. This is the first time we're using the new process for trees, for taking down trees, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you. For segment A, I know that a lot of trees are going to have to come down, and we have to do what we have to do, but process does matter. And if this had gone before the BZA, we would have heard discussion about each of the trees probably. And those of us who care about the trees would have been reassured that a serious pushing and prodding had been done of the Public Works Department. And only trees that had to be eliminated were eliminated. And options were considered, such as lowering a speed limit or other things that might be able to be done to save some of the trees. You just had a Public Works Committee meeting and just approved the removal of these trees. It's not very reassuring to me that any pushing and prodding went on, and so perhaps there can be a further discussion at the county level or some other time, so that we all are reassured that you guys are caring for our trees. But, thank you.
Liz Munn, Randy Delp, John Zolgar.
Hi, my name is Liz Munn. I live at 3631 Morris Avenue. I have lived there mostly all of my 58 years. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Nimitz and other people on the committee for hearing us at Magnolia Garden Club and our beloved Butcher Oak. We have been good stewards of her, and we will continue to be. I would not be myself if I did not come before you today just heartbroken, I guess is the best term to use. 799 inches of circumference of grand trees will be removed. And I have lived off of Main Road since there was a swing bridge at Limehouse and there was no overpass and all of those things. So I recognize that there is progress, but golly, that seems like a lot of circumference. So obviously, I'm sure that the council and everyone else can do math, but replacing 799 inches of trees would mean that if you do the 2.5-inch diameter, you would have to plant 319 trees. That's a lot. They have about an 80% survival rate. If you take that up to 6.5 inches, it is 122 trees. With replacement at 6.5-inch diameter. If you take it to 12-inch diameter replacement, it is still 66.5 trees, and they stay at that same 80% survival rate. Live oaks grow about an inch a year, so we're talking about 799 years. Lastly, the biggest thing on the agenda that I looked at was you want to mitigate flooding and things like that, and removing lots of trees may not be the best way to meet that requirement. Thank you for your time, and again, thank you for at least giving us some communication back and forth about this project.
Randy Delp, John Zolgar, Betty Craig.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Randy Delp. My address is 7028 Stonecrop Lane, Johns Island. I, too, like the former speaker, am greatly concerned about the number of grand trees that are proposed to cut down for the main road River Road, Chisholm Road roundabout. These grand live oak trees are iconic symbols of the natural beauty of both Charleston County and Johns Island in particular. These are magnificent trees that have taken decades and decades to reach their size and beauty, and are appreciated by the thousands of people that drive by each day. These trees increase increase the quality of life for all citizens, as well as increase resilience to hurricanes. When we cut down these trees, we will likely need to wait decades and decades, over 100 years, for each tree to reach some of the size that these current trees are. My question is whether the engineers and designers have been instructed to work on a design with the expressed interest of saving as many grand trees as possible. I realize not all will be able to be saved, but my question is, have those instructions been given to the designers on this project? Thank you for your consideration.
John Zolgar, Betty Craig.
Hi, thank you for hearing me. My name is Betty Craig. I go by Babs. Johns Island. My family has been here, born and raised. Mother was Dr. Ann Beck of James Island, and I am the third generation to live on Johns Island. I'm hoping that what I say is related to trees, so right now I'm not going to concentrate on that. I think others have made the points they need, and the same I feel. My number one concern right now is looking at your diagram, or Charleston County's proposed roundabout. Chisholm Road is going to be a headache. It is going to be dangerous. You're talking about a car length of average of 14.5 feet. You're talking about a double lane, 18 to 24. These are all Google points. I just did it. 18 to 24 inches wide. Now you've got a car that's got to maneuver, wondering whether they're going to turn down Chisholm, they're going to go to James Island, or they're going to go straight on Main. And then right after that, within a 20-foot period, he's going to have to decipher on his right side whether somebody's got to get in his lane to go around about to go up Main on the bridge, or he's going to go up Rivers because he's got to go to James Island. And God help me, I hope that nobody dies, but that's where a situation where he's going to be T-boned. It's not personal, the driver's not going to be on the other side. You're going to have somebody T-boned, and then you've just blocked that entire section. My next point is the road, the secondary road that you've placed from River to the boat landing. I seriously think that y'all need to consider only right turns, no left turns. If they need to go to James Island, they can do the roundabout and go back. But you're with that light, you're taking away that median, and boats, cars with boats are going to turn, and it's going to create an issue. And my third is, please, if you plant any new trees, please make the landscaper know what if we're going to have electric lines or anything. And I say this is because if you go to Kiowa or Bohicket now, everybody, if any time you visit Johns Island, look to the right at the new Johns Island High School. And we have 10 oak trees that, they're great. They planted more trees when they made the project. But every single one of them is now being cut. They're facing the buses. The buses are scratching them. And soon they're going to die.
Thank you.
So you've just wasted all that money.
Thank you, ma'am.
John Zolgar.
Yes, sir. Not closer. It's broken.
It's not working.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. John Zlogar, 5528 Frisco Lane, representing the Rational Roads for Johns Island. I want to thank county staff for putting together the presentation they did early this evening. It's been like 2 hours ago, I guess, already. And I also want to thank county council for holding this public hearing. That was a compromise that you all had made with the community a year and a half ago or so. It was a great compromise, and I'm glad we'd be able to see all of this. As a general comment, we oppose cutting down trees for spurious projects, but this is not a spurious project. This is something that's been needed, and it's been well thought out by county staff. And the project had no serious opposition from the community, nothing that held the project up whatsoever. And as you can see, residents are passionate about improving traffic and improving the environment. And we can do this, and I think in this case, we are going to do it. Great, I wish we couldn't cut down the trees, but we do need the project. So you're going to plant a lot of trees, and along that point, last week, Councilman Boykin asked me to meet with the staff. We had a great hour and 15-minute meeting, went through all the trees, how they did it, why they were cutting them down. It was a great meeting. And one of the things that came out of that is staff is contemplating hiring a landscape architect to really, in other words, rather than just planting a tree here or there, as engineers, myself included, would do, as I mentioned to them, you don't want an engineer to design your house. It'll look pretty bad, look like a square piece of property. You want an architect to do it. And so I think it'd be important that you hire a landscape architect for this effort. And also to have the community, for example, the Magnolia Garden Club involved in that. Second, as someone mentioned, let's do this right. You've got the opportunity right now. Let's run the utilities there, the water and the electricity there. Not sure what you may need to do with it right now, but run it there so that you have it. So I appreciate that. I'd just like to close, though, that I can't leave these comments without discussing the other entrance to Johns Island, Maybank Highway. That's just as bad as the intersection we're talking about now on 17 in Maine. You've got I think a $78 million settlement with the Mark Clark extension. Hopefully you can use some of that funds. I think we're only talking about $7 to $10 million. That would greatly improve the traffic on Johns Island. And just imagine in 2028, if you can say, because both these projects could be done by 2028, both the flyover and the Maybank Highway. Just imagine being able to go to the public and say, hey, we've done all this in the last 3 years. So I really encourage you to spend some of those funds on Maybank Highway.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right.
For that public hearing.
All right, that's it for that public hearing. Before we go into public comments, I wish to go back, if I can, to when we return from executive session. If there is a motion that should have come from Mr. Pryor.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that we enter into ask that you contact the city of Charleston per our discussion in executive session.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be
And
known.
engage our attorney as well.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Thank you so much. Yes, 1B.
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. regarding an ordinance to amend the portion of Charleston County Code of Ordinances 2-137 dealing with permit extension fees and construction in flood zones, filing and review fee in the Building Inspection Services Department.
We have one person, Mr. Bryant.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bryan.
And I always stay within my 2 minutes. The FEMA has been cut significantly in mitigation by the Trump administration. And if you got to make a phone call to his office, to his people, is a project in Louisiana lost $41 million in its write-up. So Senator Scott needs to get on the write-up right now. They're going to rewrite up of the bill, of the big, beautiful bill, big, bad, beautiful, whatever it is. I think it's got a lot of fat, no nutrition. But it's like one of the Big Macs. But the bottom line is we need to be real about flooding in our community with the Trump administration. Now, Lindsey Graham and others, I know y'all close with them, and need to go ahead and make contact with them because we got a serious problem with flooding in Charleston, hurricanes, and that big, beautiful budget is cutting like crazy. It's like a bombing through at it. You're like we're in Iran or something. So what we need to do is get on this pretty seriously and making sure this rewrite up. You got to call Clyburn Democrat because he can count. We need to. 'Cause I don't like Republicans can't count. You call a deficit a reduction, wherever the deficit is, it ain't that. So we need in Charleston to call our delegation to the Republicans who can't count. What are they, Robikins? What are they, Robikins? Well, Robikins need to be contacted in order to make sure that poor folk with no flood insurance in Charleston, if we get a hurricane, they won't lose their house and be gentrified by Robikins in the White House. Thanks.
All right, our public comments.
We have 8 people signed up. The first person is Jackie Morphosis, then Kathleen Duncan, then Mr. Bryant.
Hello, Charleston County Council members. Thank you. I am Jackie Morphesis, 1227 Gilmore Road, Charleston. 2 questions included in the Disabilities Act form linked to tonight's meeting deal with barriers and accommodation for the disabled. Every day, those with disabilities, mobility, and chronic pain face navigating life with difficulty, many times without accommodation. On June 21st, I attended a community event held at a Charleston County Public Library, whose parking lot was coned off with orange cones with no signage indicating handicap parking available. They directed folks to off-site retail lots. We have buildings in Charleston that hold hundreds of people without disability access door buttons on them. My bank does not have one. The new Ashley Landing Plaza construction has no plans to install buttons. Every day is barrier after barrier. Invisibility is an issue. Exhaustion, physical and emotional, is an issue. We need training and education, especially for Charleston County staff, to sensitize to the needs of those with disability, including those living with disability, hopefully in the training process. Let us tell our stories and help you. We can do better. We must do better to give the citizens of Charleston County disability access, support, and understanding. I read that very quickly so that I would stay within my time limit. So I have 30 seconds. I've been living with disability for 7 years after a very serious spine injury. If you look at me, you would say there's nothing wrong with me. But every day I have chronic pain. Every day I can't open a door to a building. Every day grocery shopping is a Herculean feat.
Thank you very much.
Kathleen Duncan, Anthony G. Bryant, Larry Paragano.
Hi, Kathleen Duncan, 1745 Mulmar Street. I'm here again on the issue of the rezoning of the corner of Orange Grove and Mulmar, and on behalf of Mrs. Robinson, Teresa Hilton, Mrs. Bozard, Bill and Jean Horn, Trill and Matt Norris, Annie Olympi, Mr. Fresh, Mrs. Gowder, Donald Edwards, William Olasov, Dina Corradetti, my husband Roy, and myself. We want to thank you for the consideration that you have given. We are still hoping that you will vote no against it based on the traffic, hoping that some of you got out there to be able to see it. Tonight, on my way here to the meeting, took me through 3 red lights at Ashley Hall because cars would not let me out. They were just all lined up, and it was lined up from the Ashley Hall stoplight all the way to Parker's at the other end of the Orange Grove that I live on. And I pulled out, and a silver van came up my rear end, and I had to wave and say I was sorry, but it was the best I could do getting out there. It is already a hazard, and we hope that you do not add to that. Such as the man said in his presentation earlier, what is the point of trying to fix a problem, the problem being that the need for affordable housing, but doing it in a way that creates other issues on the way? And this would definitely create a traffic nightmare. So thank you very much for having seen me all the times that I've been here and reading all my emails. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anthony G. Bryant, Larry Paragano, Nate Hartel.
I attended Charleston County School Board meeting, and I was told years ago about a woman of a house I sold when I was a real estate agent. I'm in land use, and I was in real estate, and this woman was killed in the house with one of my clients, Mr. Raymond, Mr. Bennett, and it was brought to my attention online that I would know about that. That would be every burnt black woman in an old house in America to me. Okay, so the school board and the sheriff and Tim Scott and others who appointed me and others with Port City Insurance, my company, would say that I would know about a murder in an old house downtown. I'm a Charleston dandy. I wear ascots, bow ties, and custom suits. I don't know. I got to make a lot of money to look the way I look. And so at the end of the day, I don't know what the sheriff talking about. I went to go see my mama, and I'm driving from downtown, and I go to Mount Pleasant, her rehabilitation. I got cops following me everywhere. I don't know who he is. I don't know who you working with. I'm a Charleston dandy, not from Mount Pleasant or West Ashley or Johns Island. I'm from downtown. I don't play that. I go way back with E. E and I go way back. If I'm gonna go ahead and do something stupid downtown, he'd know in the morning. If I was to do something stupid and I was downtown, Colada know in the morning. Okay, we all from downtown. Why would I damage a sister in my community? I'm offended by this nonsense, this Trump nonsense, where you can go ahead and go back and look at an old house and somebody killed somebody. They scared of that? I'm from the peninsula. I ain't scared of nothing. I'm from the peninsula down. I went to Norton High School. I played inside linebacker in high school. I love contact. I ain't got no problem with it. But you ain't gonna carry me like this and say that my mama lived. That's ridiculous.
All right.
Larry Paragano, Nate Hertel, Matt Norris.
I would also like to state that Eric Watson and I went to Burke High School.
Good evening, Larry Paragano, 1124 Park West Boulevard in Mount Pleasant. I come today to seek some direction from council on a common sense issue. I'm seeking for a subdivision approval on Hamlin Road in Mount Pleasant. We recently received a notice from the DPW director asking for us for a 50-foot right-of-way on a Kidmore Road, which is a dirt road in the county right now. It's only 30 feet wide. Kidmore is a public county non-standard road that is maintained by Charleston County. Research of the property says that there's no owner of the parcel and it does not have a tax ID number. No one pays taxes on it. Since the county maintains this dirt road, it has an equitable right to the road, but has not exercised that right. A title search revealed there's no documented ownership in a 60-year look back. Now, we don't think a variance is necessary because no one actually owns the road. We can perform the work necessary to put a sanitary sewer line in as requested by Mount Pleasant Water Works, then regrade the road back to dirt road standards described by the county. In so doing, not only are we benefiting the development we're undertaking, but further, we're giving future access to public utilities to the several homes that are on the paper lots on Kidmore Road that the MPW will not grant septic tanks to in the future. We would have done septic on our site had it not been for MPW's vociferous objection to the septic going forward. As a non-traditional road, we think the right-of-way of 50 feet is just not required. We know the intent was 50 feet for developers to agree from the outset of doing a subdivision, but this is an existing road. We did a quick review of the Charleston County zoning book, and on page A11, section A.3.1, general information, paragraph D, comments on right-of-way width. And it says that the minimum right-of-way for a roadway to be accepted into the county maintenance system is 50 feet unless otherwise approved by the Public Works Director. Insofar as the road has been accepted for the maintenance, acceptable.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Nate Hertel, Matt Norris, Catherine Redd.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of council, and thanks so much for, my name is Nathan Hurdle, 1488 Orange Grove Road, in reference to the Orange Grove Road rezoning application. I think you received the email from the Housing Executive Fellow at the Chamber of Commerce talking about missing middle housing as an organization committed to promoting balanced growth, economic opportunity, and quality of life for our community. We recognize the critical need for diverse housing supply that meets the evolving needs of Charleston County residents. Missing middle housing plays a vital role in achieving that goal. Unfortunately, current zoning restrictions have made it nearly impossible to build this type of housing despite its historical presence and growing demand for attainable options that serve young professionals, middle-income families, and aging residents wishing to downsize while staying in their communities. That number is not reflective of the need or market demand. Allowing for this rezoning will help restore balance to our housing mix, improve affordability, ensure that working individuals and families are not priced out of the very communities that they support. We urge the County Council to support this effort and take a meaningful step forward toward building a more inclusive, economically resilient, and livable Charleston County. As we heard earlier, there's 136,000 commuters coming into Charleston. We're looking at the Berkeley County, Dorchester Council of Governments that are saying the transportation crises that we're facing. Missing middle housing is an issue that so many organizations that study promote, and that this inside Charleston instead of out at the periphery, out in the floodplains, they would say that on high ground, on a state road where there's 12,000 vehicles per day, this would add less than 0.25% of the vehicles on that if we did 6 additional units. If you have two teachers with 8 years of service, their household income is $132,000. That's about a $450,000 mortgage that would be affordable for them. There are 3 available today in West Ashley, 3 square feet that would support.
All right, thank you so much.
Matt Norris, Catherine Red, Josh Dix.
Thank you, council members. I'm here, my name is Matt Norris, 1737 Malmar Street here, talking about the Orange Grove Road rezoning. We're not against affordable housing, but this corner is dangerous. The way that Malmar Street, and then there's another street that's like catty corner right to the right, and the traffic in the afternoon, just coming here this evening, it took me 15 to 20 minutes to get off of the street. There's been accidents on this corner. Our children, they're at the bus stop there every morning. So it's a game of chicken trying to get out on the street. And now we're going to add 6 more residences there. So another thing that I wanted to talk about was that Mr. Hertel, he got to speak on 6-5. And that was something it was supposed to be a no comment meeting. It was unfair to us to not be able to address those comments. And I think Kathleen has pretty much summed up what the rest of us think. So we thank you for your consideration, and hope that, as far as affordable housing, we would like to have more affordable housing, but not on a dangerous corner like this. Thank you.
Catherine Red, Josh Dix.
Good evening, council members. My name is Catherine Redd. I live at 1761 Mulmar Street. Y'all have already heard from me a lot over email, and I've come here as well, so I'm just going to keep this short. I do want to ask you to please vote no to that rezoning request on Orange Grove Road due to the issues with the location and the added traffic congestion at that intersection. Thank you so much again for your time, your service, and your consideration.
Josh Dix, 640 Rutledge Avenue. Y'all have had a really great meeting tonight so far, and I want to come and echo some of the things that have been talked about. There is a real need that we have in our region. We've been having this conversation over the last several months about our future growth and how we're going to overcome and deal with what's coming our way. And there's some smart ways to go about it, but we need to invest in our infrastructure. We need to put housing along these corridors that can best absorb it. You've not only heard on the transportation struggles that we're finding, but also on the opportunity for infill development. We've been working the last several years on missing middle housing, specifically looking at LCRT. That project gets closer to coming online every day, but we need to start thinking about the future of LCRT, and that is going to go down, hopefully, Cosgrove onto Sam Rittenberg and connect West Ashley along this corridor. So infill opportunities like this, the opportunity to upzone properties, these are real conversations, and I applaud y'all for setting an example and leading these regional conversations. Hopefully at y'all's retreat and future land use discussions, we can talk about the correct role inside the UGB and how we're going to adapt to the growth trends that we're seeing. But just want to say thank you for the work that y'all are doing, and let us know how we can best be a resource. But have a good night.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Chaplain Roy Gould will come lead us in a word of prayer, and Asia Heath, currently in our Emerging Leaders class, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you join me in prayer?
Almighty God, I pray for this council meeting tonight. Give each council member wisdom, guidance as they deliberate on the item before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight, for our benefit, for your glory. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Freedom of Information Act.
Let's move this agenda.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Item 2, minutes from the May 2nd.
Move for approval.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Item 3,
For A, B, and C.
properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Item 4, 4A, county fee ordinance, third reading.
Yes, sir. An ordinance amending those portions of Charleston County Code, Section 2-137, dealing with Building Inspection Services Department fees. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby? Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kaprowski?
Aye.
Mr. Moody? Mr. Pryor? Mr. Sass? Mr. Werman? Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Item 5, 5A, Transportation Sales Tax Program Education and Engagement Plan, award of contract. Properly moved
Second.
and seconded. Thank you. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Aye.
Okay. 2 nays. Thank you so much. The ayes have it.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, let me ask a question. This Momar Street, you know, these folks are waiting out in the audience, and I'm looking over the agenda. Maybe I got the wrong agenda, but I don't see anything on there.
6A is coming up right now.
Move for disapproval.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Nay.
Well, let's do a roll call vote, please.
And I is to disapprove.
Aye is to disapprove.
Okay, that's.
Momar Street, Orange Grove Road.
Mr. Boykin?
Nay.
That's the
Mr.
vote
Darby?
against it.
Kathleen Duncan for president.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
That's an
Nay.
aye.
Yes, sir, I got you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Honeycutt.
Nay.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Second, Mr. Darby, yea. Yes.
Mr. Moody?
I'm going to aye my own motion.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Sass? Mr. Werman?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
The motion to disapprove passes 5 ayes, 4 nays.
Could you read the ordinance for us, Madam Clerk?
I don't,
Well,
I
there's-
don't need
Oh,
to
it's
read the
failed.
ordinance. Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
It's failed.
I'm sorry. It fails.
All right, 6B.
6B through E, move committee recommendation, all 4 items.
Second.
All right, let's hear the first reading, properly moved, and
Second.
seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Thank you. Let's hear the first reading of each.
Yes, sir. An ordinance approving the Orange Hill, Johns Island, South Carolina Development Agreement by and among Kiowa Resort Associates LP and Charleston County, South Carolina. And an ordinance rezoning the real property located at 4612 River Road, Johns Island, South Carolina, parcel identification numbers 215000030 and 21500000163 from Orange Hill Plantation PD 83A zoning district and parcel identification number 25600000120 from the Rural Agricultural AG 8 zoning district to the Orange Hill Plan Development PD 191 zoning district. And an ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of a right-of-way and utility easement to the Commissioners of Public Works of the City of Charleston, South Carolina, on a portion of county property identified as tax map parcel number 41200000012, located at Leeds Avenue and Brickyard Creek Road, North Charleston, South Carolina 29405. And finally, an ordinance approving and authorizing the grant of 4 construction easements and 2 utility easements to Madison Bees Ferry Owner LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, on a portion of county property identified as tax map parcel number 30100000026, located at 1362 Bees Ferry Road, Charleston, South Carolina 29414.
Thank you so much. And we moved the probate judge reimbursement discussion to July 17th, so there's no recommendation there. Item 8, 8A.
Move A and B, move approval.
Moved.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Item 9,
Move
consent
approval
agenda.
A through J.
All right.
Well, A through J, and then we'll vote on I separately.
A through H and J.
Yeah, A through, yeah, we vote on I separately.
All right. Probably moved. Second. And seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. 9-aye.
Move for committee recommendation.
All right. Properly moved and seconded. Mr. Kurowski.
I want to echo my statements from before. This is even more so, and I won't be intimidated. I feel we've heard from the chamber and weighed in. It's a political organization. They have a right to promote their ideas in every way they want. But I don't think the taxpayers ought to incur the cost of this, either by reimbursing or sending our people there. I mean, are we going to do this for the Coastal Conservation League or the Republican or Democratic Party? They have a PAC that promotes candidates for county council. I don't think an organization that gives money by their PAC to promote or defeat candidates, that we ought to give money to them to hear. We already went through this with the sales tax. And I believe that the people are better off listening to people here, and I repeat what I said before. Or I would vote no on this, just like the other one. Thanks.
Thank you so much. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Nay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Abstain. Yes, ma'am.
3 nays.
She's abstaining.
Oh, she abstained. Thank you so much. All right, item
10
10.
move for committee recommendation, all items.
Probably moved and seconded. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Item 11, Finance Committee recommendations.
We had a
Update
recommendation
on
11D.
Highway 40.
On 11D, that's
Move
only,
for staff, I'm sorry, move for committee recommendation from Mr.
Second.
Pryor. Yeah.
All right. That the chairman and the attorney continue to talk with the city about.
Per our discussion in
Per
the-
our discussion, about 993 and 995 Morrison. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Werman?
Nothing from you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Boykin? Thank you so much. Mr. Sass?
nothing for me, sir.
Mr. Darby?
Yes, sir. I just want to say, with a vociferous voice, to Mr. Tootin and Ms. Salisbury, I did not eat the candy tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Moody did.
Okay.
I resemble that remark.
Yes, sir.
I understand that's your favorite
Thank you,
candy.
ma'am.
So.
Pryor?
One thing, the applicant over in Hamlin came to us asking, so I would ask that staff and our attorney meet with Mr. Paragano to see what could be done to help him with that project. He's done everything, from what I understand, to get water and sewer there, but if he brings in a septic tank, Mount Pleasant won't give him water, okay? And if he tries to, get an easement, it's a 30-foot road, but the people won't allow easement on their property even though they want sewer. So he's caught in an unwinnable situation. And if there's anything we can do to help move this project forward, based on what he's already done, which he meets all the qualifications, it's just that he's stuck between a rock and a hard place for trying to get water and sewer. So I would ask that staff and the attorney meet, and anything legally we can do to help this gentleman and granting some type of easement, or something like that, if all possible, without doing anything that's going to harm the county. Because, affordable, it may not be affordable housing over there, but, it's housing that somebody's going to live. And they keep putting money into a project, delay, it's costing the applicant. So whatever we can do to work with them, I would hope that we can find some kind of way to come to some kind of meeting with him. Okay, some type of variance or whatever he's needing.
We'll follow up on that in our meeting next week, just to see where we could go. All right, Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. I'll try to keep them short. I want to thank the county staff, specifically Mr. Adams and his public works staff and their partnerships with municipal and state, working today, retrieving derelict boats, taking them to the Limehouse, destroying them and hauling them away. And as I understand it, Senator Lieber's boat has been plied from the muck and no longer polluting the waterways and is under tow to the Limehouse. And I look forward to our staff smashing that one tomorrow too. Yeah. I'm, taking care of the environment and less time worried about library boards, but that's just my 2 points. I wanted to address the Animal Society briefly. As I did earlier, I was a little concerned about the slick billing we got in the first quarter of this year. And Mr. Tootin, you and I talked about this. We hire you to make these decisions, and I support that. I would have made a different decision, but it's your call to make, and I would never pressure you to do that, and I know none of us would, but I just would have made a different decision. But I suspect we'll be back before them soon. One more note, I would be interested to note that we did, Mr. Chairman, whoever, our contract with the Animal Society is, Mr. Tootin, $467 per animal?
76, I think, right?
460 something?
467.
467.
Just negotiated $543 per animal.
Wow.
As a city of Charleston resident, I find that very interesting. Maybe our animals in the city are a little classier than the unincorporated strays. But, who knows? That's just par for the course for that gang, though.
Maybe it's a volume thing.
Yeah, it could be. But just one thing, too, quickly about public comments. We heard some good stuff. I mean, I heard Ms. Kershaw say that, and I appreciated that. But this is our first case with this, but I sort of took a different approach. My opinion was, thank goodness that we did what we did. Because my concern about projects taking so long, our projects going back to a body that we appoint is just ludicrous. We've permitted it, paid for it, built, got to building it, and they go back to a body we appoint for some kind of approval. So those are the kind of shortcuts. Those are the sort of barriers we've got to eliminate to keep our projects moving along faster. And I wanted to compliment Mr. Dix too. He verbalized something that I was struggling with. This project on Mulmar. Wrong place. Absorption was the key word, and I appreciated that. It's the project wasn't bad, but it just was in the wrong place beside 160 apartments on a very busy road with a quirky Firth Road intersection across the street from it. That was my big problem with it, is the location. So I more prefer infill on larger roads that have multiple ingress, egress, bike, pedestrian, bus, where people can get in and out. That's the sort of info I'm looking for. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much for your comments tonight, Mr. Moody. I learned a lot. Ms. Honeycutt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say thank you to this council for accommodating me. I know this is not the ideal way to participate, but affording me this opportunity gave me a chance to spend some time this summer with my daughter, and I am very grateful. I've been on the whole time listening to our entire conversation as well as public comments. I appreciate all those who've come out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Vice Chair Kabrowski?
Briefly, I wanted to say that I wanted to thank the people that came out that lived on Orange Grove Road. This is the very thing that makes me proud to live in Charleston County, that people can address their public bodies and we can respond. I'm proud of the people that came out, and this is the kind of thing, if I do nothing else on county council, I'll have accomplished something. I felt this like the people there. At some point, whether 2 years or 4 years, I'll be right back with you and be there when things come. And that's exactly what drove me to run for county council, when they wanted to cut our forests down in Sullivan's Island and the government. We fought back, and sometimes you can prevail. So I want to thank you for taking the time as citizens to come and help make our county livable. And second, briefly with regard to the Charleston Animal Society billing, I just want to say that we approved over my strenuous objection, paying, consultants thousands and thousands of dollars a month without any time required, the timesheets or any kind of itemization of time. And I'd rather pay for sentient creatures who feel pain and hunger. And I don't understand the discrepancy of personal animosity to drive things. I mean, on the one hand, we're paying $150,000 to consult. We don't know, and it may be the best consultant in the world. There's not any requirement to show whether the person works 1 hour or 1,000 hours. So I don't understand the outrage at one and not at the other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chair, and to the citizen that came talking about the chronic back pains and issues. My heart goes out to you because I also suffer with chronic back pain, and I'm always looking for those buttons to push, including the one downstairs. So I wish that we might be able to hearken, to some of those concerns that were raised, particularly in our buildings that may not have, those types of additions to make certain that we're able to accommodate all people, especially those who may not look like they're having those kind of issues, but many of us suffer with chronic pain. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Gould, our chaplain Gould, who is faithful and steadfast and provides prayer at these council meetings, at least in this chairmanship administration. And so I would like to thank you for that. I would like to thank Mr. Talbert and the procurement staff. We had Procurement 101 that all elected officials were invited to, including county council members. We had an array of our elected officials there, and people showed up and were a part of that training. And I would hope that based on the procurement practices that they will supervise and oversee in their individual elected areas, that we should not have the findings and some of the things that were so rampant, in reports in the past. We look forward to Procurement 201 and in continued opportunities to learn more about that process. Again, we also invite county council members to join in. Lastly, I would like to say on Wednesday, July 9th, you already have received that invitation, but want to put it in front of you afresh. That will be our council retreat, 12 o'clock noon, Founders Hall, Charlestown Landing. Please let us come. Let us be prepared to engage in a full day of robust engagement around all of these issues that will help catapult us, really. We could come out of that retreat as a united, aligned council that enables us to march forward with all of the strategic priorities that will help us move the county in a way that's remarkable if we can do it together. I think that based on what we've experienced tonight, this has been a great night as it relates to just everybody getting their points in. We don't always have to agree on everything, but it's respectful, even in an executive session setting, coming to consensus and just respecting the processes that we all we want to get to the same place. So thank you all for engaging at a high level. I know that this was a packed, stacked agenda, but we'll see you again on July 9th and then July 17th.
Preach, Reverend, preach.